Hi there, thanks so much for joining me today. If you're watching this video, I can guess that one of two things are happening. Either you are feeling really overwhelmed by this whole novel coronavirus crisis that's disrupting everything around the world, or you're worried about how your kids are processing this. And this truly is a strange time to be on this planet. One thing that I really want to focus on is making sure that we're being super intentional about how we're dealing with what our kids are going through. Now, some of you who are joining me are probably have just been thrown into this whole thing. You feel like you've been forced to suddenly become this homeschooling parent. And I want to tell you something that other homeschooling parents, and some of you may be doing that too, already know, and that is that this is not normal homeschooling. This is much harder. This is crisis schooling. And it's important for us to understand that and to recognize that so that we can create the right atmosphere in our home. The reality is your kids are going to remember how they felt during this crisis. They are going to have memories from this. And it's important that we do what we can. And I know we're all stretched really thin right now, but to do what we can to manage the situation as well as we can. And that's why I created this checklist, this protocol, this way of looking at how you're doing life during this period as a parent to make sure that we're keeping up with what our kids need to know. Now, there are 5 parts to this. It's very simple. The first thing I want to start with is connection. I talk about this for the youngest kids especially, lots of hugs and cuddles. You know, for older kids, it may just be taking time to connect with them, to sit down and talk to them, and to intentionally process things with them. It's important to just be there, not to be there as the enforcer, but to be there as a person, connecting with them, asking them what they're going through, how they're going to deal with this. Now, the second thing that's important, and this leads into it, that true connection, you also need to talk and listen. You need to actually address it. There's a chance that your kids are trying to hide the fact that they're scared from you as much as you're trying to hide it from them, okay? It's important to know that they're going to pick up on that, and you need to talk to them and listen to them and find out what they think they know about the situation. I have my 2 oldest kids. My oldest is 9 and the other one is 7. And both of them thought that this situation was much worse than it is in reality. So I processed it with each of them in a way that they really understand best. With one of them, it was doing the math and showing the mathematical probability of getting this, the death rate, all these things. It doesn't downplay the tragedy for each person, but it does help when my kids actually thought that almost everyone was dying from this. That was the message they were getting from media and the message they were getting from the extreme measures that are taken to shut down so much of the country right now. They know this is unusual, and they may be processing it as though as if it's actually even worse than it is. With another child, because I just know his way of thinking about the world, I talked to him and told him, you know, this is going to be in history books. We're living through history right now. And so that's something that he's been processing with me. These are things you can do when you know your child. You can really look at the best ways to communicate with them. And if you feel like you don't know, then just talk to them a little bit. Now, the next thing I want to talk about is it's very important to make a safe place, right? We want to talk about the situation that's going on right now. We want to make sure that they have the information they need, age-appropriate information, but we don't want to overwhelm them. It's not a good idea to have CNN playing all day long when you have young kids in the house who may not be fully comprehending what's being said. They may be seeing images or hearing words that scare them. It's important to create a safe place for them. So place some limits on the amount of information that's coming into your home and create a place where they're comfortable. For some kids, this might mean creating opportunities for them to have sensory experiences because they're in a different thing where they usually are. They need to move and wiggle and do things and touch things. Some activities, if you can get them outside, that's great. I know in some parts of the country, in New York City, People, I've heard in some areas, are not even being allowed to step outside of their homes. So that's where we do some jumping jacks. That might make the downstairs neighbors mad, but we do some different things to give them some healthy activities. A great thing is just playing some music and dancing in the kitchen, doing some strange things you normally wouldn't do. And then the next thing I want to talk about is giving kids some responsibility. So important and so reassuring for them. I think it's true for us as adults as much as it is for children. We need to know exactly what's expected of us. We need to have a role to play, and it's wonderful to feel like we're making a contribution. So this can mean that you tell your kids, and keep it age appropriate. We don't want to overwhelm them or burden them, but you can talk to them and say, okay, your school district has sent home this school for you to do from home. This is a really stressful time. Here are all the things our family's trying to deal with. What I need you to do is do the best job you possibly can completing these assignments. And, let me know when you're having problems. Let's work through things together. But I really need you to help take some responsibility for this right now so that we can all get through this together. Another great thing is just to give kids some jobs, to explain some things to them. If you're working from home and you have a 5-year-old, you can talk to them about sitting and coloring while you're working through a meeting or something like that. It's an opportunity to make it age appropriate, to make it very much something they can accomplish, not overwhelming, but to also give them a part to play in this bigger picture. We all want to feel like we're an important, valued part of a family, of a situation, and this is a great way to do it. Now, the last thing I want to talk about is making things fun. Even though this is a difficult time, we need to give our children some fun. We don't know what they're going to remember from the schoolwork they're doing or all these different things that they're going through, but we do know one thing. When we are relaxed, when we are playing, we learn so much better. We function so much better. We live together with a whole lot of togetherness so much better. So this is a time to maybe intentionally break some normal rules and do something fun, to plan something fun, to be intentional about creating some fun in our children's lives. And this is an opportunity for beautiful connection. Honestly, we may never have this much concentrated time with our children again. This is in some ways a gift, although for some people, this is horrible. I mean, there are people who are really suffering right now with job loss, with concerns about health and family. I've known several people who have either had loved ones lost to this or they have had family members sick in the hospital they couldn't visit. We've had funerals in this where not everybody could get together. This is a very difficult time. But what's important is to make the best of this difficult time for you and your children. And sometimes it's not going to be super exciting. It doesn't have to be elaborate, but you do need to be there for them. That's going to mean so much to them. They don't always need you to do everything for them, but they always, always need you to be there for them. I just am thinking about all of you. I'm really, really hoping for the best for you out of this situation. And I just really hope that you'll contact me, that you'll get plugged into a group that I have available, that you'll take advantage of any resources we have available to help you cope with this time. And I hope that this Kid Care protocol is helpful for you. All the best.